Hi, I'm Marion. I'm 23 years old, and this is my story. Before I tell you how this began, let me tell you how it ends. I got pregnant by a man I barely knew. He stayed. We fell in love. We planned a family. And then I discovered the truth. The man I was living with, the man I loved, was my cousin. This isn't a story about immorality. It's a story about broken families, lost connections, and a truth hidden for so long that it destroyed lives when it finally surfaced. I grew up in a family that didn't fall apart loudly. There were no dramatic fights in front of children, no screaming matches in public. Instead, it was the quiet kind of destruction, the kind where people simply stop talking to each other. Names were no longer mentioned. Pictures were put away. Relatives disappeared from our lives without explanation. As a child, I didn't understand it. As an adult, I realized how dangerous that silence was. I grew up barely knowing my extended family. I had cousins whose faces I couldn't remember, aunts and uncles who became strangers. The only person I remembered clearly was my aunt, my father's sister. Her face stayed with me because she had been present in my early childhood. Everyone else faded into memory gaps. As I entered adulthood, I felt emotionally lost. I wasn't unhappy, but I wasn't fulfilled either. I felt like I was floating through life without direction, waiting for something to make me feel alive again. Then one night, my best friend invited me to her birthday party. She said I needed to relax. She said I needed to stop overthinking. She said one night wouldn't hurt. I didn't know that one night would follow me forever. The party was crowded. Music filled the room. People laughed loudly, drinks in hand, telling stories about their lives. I blended into the noise, letting alcohol soften the edges of my thoughts. That's when I noticed him. He wasn't the loud type. He didn't try to impress anyone. He just stood there, occasionally glancing in my direction. Our eyes met a few times. I felt curious but not suspicious. I assumed he was just another guest. As the night went on, someone suggested playing truth or consequence. When the bottle landed on me, I chose consequence. I didn't want to open my life up to strangers. They dared me to hug one of the male guests. I don't know why I chose him. When I hugged him, my body reacted in a way I couldn't explain. It wasn't just attraction. It felt familiar, like comfort, like safety. It felt wrong and right at the same time. We pulled away without speaking. I laughed awkwardly and blamed the alcohol. I told myself I was imagining things. But sometimes, your body recognizes something your mind doesn't understand yet. Later that night, we were told to stay over. It was late, and everyone was exhausted. We slept crowded together in one room. I was half asleep, barely aware of anything around me. In the early hours of the morning, I woke up and went to the bathroom. He was already there. There were no long conversations. No introductions. No questions about family or past. Just silence and impulse. It was a mistake. A moment of weakness. A decision made without understanding its weight. The next morning, I left early. I didn't ask for his last name. I didn't get his contact details. I told myself it was over. I believed I could forget. I couldn't. Weeks later, my body changed. Mornings became unbearable. Dizziness followed me everywhere. Fear settled into my chest. A test confirmed what I was afraid to know. I was pregnant. My hands shook as I stared at the result. Panic overwhelmed me. I didn't even know how to find the father of my child. For the first time in my life, I felt truly trapped. I reached out to my friend and begged for help. She told me his name. I searched for him and sent a message explaining everything. He replied. When we met, it felt strange, like sitting across from someone who was both familiar and unknown. We introduced ourselves properly for the first time. I told him about the pregnancy. He didn't deny it. He didn't walk away. Instead, he said he would take responsibility. He admitted that night stayed in his mind too, that he couldn't forget me. That despite how we met, he felt something real. We were both disconnected from our families, both lonely, both afraid of facing the future alone. So we made a decision. We moved in together. Life wasn't perfect, but it was stable. He was kind and supportive. He talked to my growing belly. He planned for our future like we were a real family. I began to believe that maybe our story, no matter how it started, could still have a happy ending. Then he suggested inviting his mother to stay with us when I gave birth. I didn't hesitate. I wish I had. The day she arrived, he was nervous and excited. He wanted to introduce me properly. He wanted her to see the life we were building. When the door opened, everything inside me froze. The woman standing there wasn't a stranger. She was my aunt, my father's sister, the woman I remembered from my childhood, his mother. In that moment, the past rushed into the present. The strange familiarity, the unexplainable warmth, the feeling I couldn't understand that night. It all made sense. I ran to the bathroom and locked the door. My body shook violently. I couldn't breathe. I screamed silently while outside. I heard confusion, crying, knocking. He begged me to open the door. But how do you talk when love turns into horror? How do you look at the person you planned a future with, knowing the same blood flows through both of you? I held my stomach, terrified for my child. A child born from ignorance, from silence, from a truth hidden for years. Now I'm standing at a crossroads. If I stay, I live with guilt, judgment, and sin. If I leave, I raise my child alone, carrying this secret forever. There is no choice without pain. So I'm asking you, if you were in my place, what would you do?